Good morning, students. I think 6 members have joined the class. Let us wait for 1 or 2 minutes more. Only 6 members have joined. Someone ask your friends to join quickly. Now I cannot post anything in the WhatsApp group. ఎవరన్నా ఒకరు వాట్సాప్ గ్రూప్లో తొందరగా జాయిన్ కామని మెసేజ్ పెట్టండి, బాయ్స్ అండ్ గర్ల్స్ బోత్. Okay, welcome to the class. From today onwards, we are going to have classes live on YouTube, so that I need not to upload the recorded lessons once again. So data problems are there, and in live classes also, through comment section we can communicate with each other. If you have any doubts, you can ask me through comments. I will try to answer them after reading them at the end of the class. So let us start the class. Today's class is types of ecosystems. So in this we have two topics, aquatic ecosystems and terrestrial ecosystems. Various scientists have classified ecosystems based on different things. So out of them, one classification classifies the ecosystems into natural ecosystems and artificial ecosystems. Natural ecosystems are the natural ones. They exist by the grace of the God. Artificial ecosystems are created by humans. So natural ecosystems are very, very important. We are also part of a natural ecosystem, but we are altering them and we are creating some artificial ecosystems also. So all the towns, villages, cities, all these things, they can be considered as artificial ecosystems. Not only these dwellings, human dwellings, but also these crops, crop fields, all these also can be considered as artificial ecosystems. Anyway, artificial ecosystems is not part of our syllabus, so we do not talk much about that. Coming to the natural ecosystems can be classified into two classes. One is terrestrial ecosystems, another one is uh, aquatic ecosystems. So in this slide, you can see terrestrial ecosystems can be classified into different types again. So these are different types of, we may call them as different types of biomes. First one is tropical rainforest ecosystems, second one deciduous forests, third one tropical savannas, fourth one tannas, and fifth one taigas, sixth one alpines, seventh chaparrals, and eighth one grassland, and ninth one deserts. So they are the 9 different types of terrestrial ecosystems. And coming to aquatic ecosystems are broadly classified into 3 classes. They are freshwater ecosystems. Freshwater ecosystems are also called as inland water ecosystems. Why? Because they are present inside the continents, so that they are also called as inland water systems or freshwater ecosystems. Second one is ocean eco water systems. They are called as a mm, they are called as marine ecosystems also. And third one is estuarine water ecosystems. And in inland water systems or freshwater ecosystems, lentic ecosystem, lotic ecosystem, and wetland ecosystem. So 3 subclasses are there. So we will discuss about all these different types of natural ecosystems in detail. In today's class, we are going to talk about marine ecosystem. So marine ecosystem is the biggest ecosystem. Why? Because marine ecosystem comprises of oceans. These oceans occupy or they harbor the water content. 97.2% of water content present on planet Earth is present inside these in these oceans only. So usually oceans are we know that 5 major oceans are there. So these 5 major oceans, actually they are not separate entities. They are connected to each other. They are connected to each other, but for our sake we have classified them into 5 major oceans, like Hindu Ocean, Atlantic Ocean, Arctic Ocean, like that. 5 major oceans are there. So you take any ocean in these 5 major oceans, each one, the smallest one also, is the biggest ecosystem present on this planet Earth. So these are the biggest or largest ecosystems, and they are much stable than freshwater ecosystems. This stability comes from due to the large amount of water content or due to the big size. And coming to freshwater ecosystems, they are relatively very small when compared to oceans. So they are small, and due to the small size, what happens, temperature variations will be high, and salinity also, all other conditions will be very fluctuating. So they will be fluctuating, so there will be no stability in the environmental conditions of the freshwater ecosystems. Say for example, during the floods, the rainwater receives lot of organic matter. When there is no flood, organic matter content will be less in the fresh waters. So in due to these different types of conditions, a lot of variations or lot of fluctuations can be seen in freshwater ecosystems. But whereas the oceans, due to the big size, whatever comes into the oceans, that will not affect much. There will be no big difference in the physical conditions or environmental conditions of the oceans. That's why they are considered as much stabler than the freshwater ecosystems. And they are very salty in nature. That's why only they are called as saltwater ecosystems also. So these oceans are very salty in nature. The water content in the oceans is very salty in nature. This saltiness is due to the presence of lot of salts. So different types of salts will be there in the ocean. They are sodium salts, potassium salts, magnesium, calcium, sulfur, boron, and barium, etc. And the salinity is highest in between two latitudes, at two latitudes, 30 degrees north latitude and 30 degrees south latitude. So at these two things, the salinity is very high. And the salt content, the percentage of salt concentration will be around 5.5%. In the earlier classes, you might have studied about this thing as the salt concentration to be about 3.5%. But due to the continuous inflow of nutrients through the river water flow, gradually the salt content in the oceans keeps on changing or keeps on increasing. So in the textbook that I read, it is given as a 5.5%. So if you write it as a 3.5% also, that is not a wrong. So what is this 3.5% or 5.5% means? So if let us take if we take a liter of water, in that liter of water 35 grams if it is 3.5%, or 55 grams if it is 5.5%. So 35 grams or 55 grams of salts will be there in 1 liter of salt water or 1 liter of marine water. So that is the meaning of this 5.5% of salt water. And this salt content or salt concentration in the marine water is not uniform in all the oceans. So it will be changing. So at some places it will be around 3.5 only. At some other places it would be somewhere 4.5, and maximum will be 5.5. So the maximum concentration will be seen at this 30-degree north latitude and 30-degree south latitude. And we know that in any ecosystem, two components will be there. One is physical component, physical factors. Another one is biological abiotic factors, and second one is biotic factors. So the physical factors are abiotic factors include light, temperature, pressure, salinity, tides, and currents. So all these are called as physical factors. These physical factors, they affect the life of the biota present in this marine waters. So coming to the importance of oceans, so these oceans, they provide two important services to the this biosphere. They are called as ecological services and economic services. So ecological services include climate moderation. They change the climate of the globe. Total complete Earth atmosphere will be controlled by these atmospheres only, and they are the major sources of carbon dioxide absorption. So if there are no waters, carbon dioxide concentration in the atmosphere would be more higher than this present scenario. And they also participate in nutrient recycling and waste treatment, and they also treat the waste, and they dilute the concentration of the waste content. So they can due to the enormous size, due to the huge size of these oceans, they can take as many as waste materials possible. So they will dilute and they will decrease the pollution of these materials. And they also reduce some storm impacts, storms, and due to the presence of mangrove forests and barrier island and coastal wetlands at some places, all these all these all these physical structures, they will reduce the storm effects on the inlands, and they also provide habitats and nursery areas for lot of different types of marine species, especially not only marine species, some terrestrial animals also. They will they will be hatched in the marine waters. In some some stages of their lives will be sent in this marine water. So they provide some habitat also for a lot of not only marine species but also to the terrestrial species. And they provide a lot of genetic resources, and they are the source of lot of biodiversity. Lot of different types of species are existing in this water. So and they also provide help in the scientific research activities also. So these are all called as ecological services. So oceans provide these types of ecological services. Coming to the economic services, so economic services also are very important, that are provided by these oceans. They provide us food. This food could be animal food or pet food also. Like fish is the biggest source of food that comes from oceans, and they also the animals and the some plants of these plants of the oceans, they will be used in the pharmaceutical industries. And harbors and transportation routes are also very important means of transport. And coastal habitats for humans are also very important ones. So these coastal areas provide habitats for this habitation also. And recreation purposes also, a lot of beaches are very attractive to the tourists. So a lot of tourists come to these places for their recreation purposes. So in that way they provide employment also to the lot of people. And offshore oil and natural gas industries are also very important ones. They play very important role in the economy of the all countries. So without the petroleum and without these natural gases, we cannot run our houses, our cooking purposes, and our automobiles. All these things, they require these petroleum and natural gases. And lot of minerals also will be collected from these oceans, and building materials are also collected from these oceans. So these are the important this is the importance of oceans. Why? Because they provide a lot of these sources to us, economic sources and ecological sources also. And coming to the zonation of the marine ecosystem can be divided into different types of zones. So this zonation is based on different things. Based on depth wise, ocean can be divided into continental shelf, continental slope, and third one is oceanic crust. Continental shelf and continental slope and oceanic crust. So here in this slide, you can see in the continental shelf, starting from the shore, up to some few kilometers inside this sea waters, the depth will be very less. Around this would be around some 100 meters of depth. So this will be very having very less depth. This total area will be considered as continental shelf. So after this thing, what happens? The slope of the substratum in this waters will be very steep. So the gradual steep, it will be very steep, and it will be very having a lot of depth. They will go up to some few kilometers depth also. So this area is considered as continental slope. So after that, the bottom of the oceans will be considered as oceanic crust. So this oceanic crust will be around some few kilometers depth. In some seas, it would be around 10 kilometers. In some seas, it would be around 3 kilometers and 4 kilometers also. So depending on different seas, the depth of this oceanic crust will be varying. So depending on the depth of these oceans, the zonation is of zonation of marine ecosystem or zonation of seas is three. We can divide them into three zones. One is continental shelf, second one is continental slope, third one is oceanic crust. And coming to another zonation, so depending on the sunlight penetration, so you just keenly observe this slide. Depending on sunlight availability, the oceanic ecosystem can be classified into two areas. One is photic zone, second one is aphotic zone. Photic zone would be around from the top of these oceans are to till 200 meters depth. So till 200 meters depth, the sunlight penetration will be very high, and this 200 meters of top area of this ocean waters, ocean top layer is very, very important for these autotrophs. Why? Because due to the availability of these sunlight, autotrophs can survive in this 200 meters of top area only. So this is called photic zone. So food production, autotrophs, due to the presence of autotrophs in this photic zone, food production will be there by combining carbon dioxide and sunlight and water molecules. These autotrophs, they produce food, and this is the source for the remaining organisms present in this sea waters. And second zone is from 200 meters to bottom of these oceans. It is considered as aphotic zone. In this aphotic zone also, after 200 meters depth till 1000 meters depth, that means till 100 meters depth, some amount of sunlight will be there, but the sunlight is not enough for the photosynthesis. So due to that, some sunlight availability will be there in these areas, but autotrophs cannot survive in those areas till 1000 meters. From 200 meters to 1000 meters depth, autotrophs cannot survive in those waters. Why? Because sunlight availability is not suitable for the photosynthesis purpose. So that is called as, in some cases, dysphotic zone. And from 1000 meters to bottom of the oceans, it is considered as aphotic zone. There will be no sunlight at all. So based on the sunlight availability, oceanic ecosystem can be divided into two major zones. One is photic zone, second one is aphotic zone. And based on the organisms availability, based on the organisms living in these different surfaces areas or substratums of these oceans, this also can be divided into some other classes also. That is littoral zone. Littoral zone will be the periphery of these oceans, so towards the shore regions. This will be called as littoral zone. After littoral zone, sublittoral zone also will be there, and the sublittoral zone will be present till the end of these continental shelf. So the continental surface area or substratum of the continental shelf can be divided into two zones. One is littoral zone. This will be the peripheral area, or the area that is very close to the beaches or continental area. So that is called the littoral area. After littoral area, sublittoral area will be there. So these two areas are the bottom areas of the continental shelf, and the continental slope area will be considered as a bathyal zone. Continental shelf, in this second slide that you are seeing in this picture, in this screen, on the screen. So the third zone is a bathyal zone. The bathyal zone is comprising of the continental slope area. So the surface of the continental slope is considered as bathyal zone, and the bottom of the last area is considered as abyssal zone. Bottom of the last area is considered as abyssal zone. Apart from these things, another classification is also there. One is a neritic zone, another one is a pelagic zone. Neritic zone and pelagic zone. So these neritic zones and pelagic zones are the vertical areas. So the top waters around these sublittoral zone and the littoral zone are considered as neritic zone. The surface of the water, which is very close to the shore, is called as the neritic zone. So bottom of the ocean here is called as littoral zone and sublittoral zone. Top layer of the water is considered as neritic zone. And remaining water, so after this pelagic zone to the remaining total surface of the water is considered as pelagic zone. So this pelagic zone will be around will be from top layer to the till the bottom of the abyssal zone or bottom of the bathyal zone is considered as pelagic zone. So and in this pelagic zone also, this can be, pelagic zone also can be classified into several horizontal layers. The top one will be epipelagic zone, middle one will be mesopelagic zone, below that bathypelagic zone will be there, and below that abyssal zone or abyssal pelagic zone will be there. So these are the different zonations present in the marine waters. So, and coming to the abiotic factors, so different types of abiotic factors will be there. So they are water, salinity, light, pressure, temperature, dissolved gases, pH, tides, currents, waves, substratum, nutrient supply, exposure to the air. So these are the different abiotic factors, and they affect the biota present in these marine waters. And coming to biotic factors. So biotic factors classification of these marine biota. Marine biota can be classified into the different types of organisms based on where they live. The organisms which live in the water currents or water layer, they are called as pelagic organisms. And these pelagic organisms, again, they are of two types. One is plankton and another one is nekton. Plankton, usually they are not active swimmers. Nekton are active swimmers. So plankton are, they live in the water layer, and nekton also, they also live in the water layer, but plankton, they will not move actively. They will go along with this water currents or water flow. Nekton are active swimmers, and the organisms which live on the bottom layer or substratum of the sea, they are called as benthos. So organisms can be divided into three classes: plankton, nekton, and benthos. Plankton are they are passive swimmers, or they do not swim actively, they do not move actively. Nekton are active swimmers, and benthos are active. Benthos are the organisms that live on the substratum of the ocean. And some organisms, they will be, say, benthic in one stage, and they will be pelagic in another stage. So these plankton and nekton, both of them are called as pelagic organisms. Why? Because the pelagic zone is nothing but the water, total complete water layer in the ocean is called as pelagic zone. So if the organism is not limited to the bottom of the ocean, then it will be called as pelagic organism. Based on the active swimming or not active swimming nature, they can be divided into plankton or nekton. So some organisms, they will be benthic in one stage, and they will be pelagic in another stage of their life cycle. And the natural classification, we know that the organisms can be classified into producers, consumers, and decomposers. So depending on this classification, producers, they synthesize organic molecules, or they produce carbohydrates and other materials. So these are the important organisms in any ecosystem. So these producers, they exist in both these environments. They are present in benthic environment, they are also present in pelagic environment also. And these organisms could be single cell organisms, single cell plankton will be there, and multi cell plankton also will be there. So these single celled and multi cell plankton, they, through by photosynthesis, they will produce food, which is very, very important source of energy for all other organisms in that pelagic environment. And some benthic producers are also there. Not only the pelagic organisms, benthic organisms also, they also produce food, like some microalgae, diatoms, macroalgae, big size plant like structures, they are called as kelps. Example for kelp is macrocystis pyrifora, and some sea grasses like Joostera. All these are also important autotrophs present on the benthos. So coming to the plankton, so plankton are the organisms. They live in this sea waters, and they do not swim actively. They do not move actively. They are very numerous in number, and primarily they are very microscopic in this pelagic environment. They live on the water currents. So they are critical components of food chains. They are critical components of food chains. Uh, lot of because they provide nutrition for all other organisms living in this, all other animals living in this plankton. Lot of crustaceans, fish, squid, all these organisms, they live in this pelagic environment, and in benthic environment also a lot of sea squirts, sponges will be there. All these organisms will be provided food by these plankton only. So these plankton, they also exert a global effect on this biosphere because they balance the components of the earth atmosphere depending on this photosynthesis activity. So these plankton, especially these phytoplankton, they produce lot of carbohydrates than all the forests present on this terrestrial habitat. So that they remove lot of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere than the forests. So that's why they are very helpful in reducing the global warming effect than the green forests on the terrestrial habitats. And they range from the range of these phytoplanktons. The size of this phytoplankton ranges from 1 micrometer to up to 2 meters also. Some microorganisms, they will be very very small, very minute, 1 micrometer. They will be very that much small in size, and some jellyfishes, they will grow up to 2 meters in length, and 2 meters in width, and the tentacles, they may extend up to 15 meters also. That much big organisms also will live in this plankton. And the plankton include a variety of bacteria, green algae, protozoans, larvae of some animals, crustaceans. All these are examples for plankton. And these can be classified into phytoplankton and zooplankton. Phytoplankton, they participate in photosynthesis, and they are the producers of this marine total community. They provide food for zooplankton and other benthas also. And zooplankton are greater than, they are big in size. Usually phytoplankton are very small in size, zooplankton are very big in size. And this jellyfish that we discussed just now, it also comes under zooplankton. So they are very big in size. Coming to the nekton are the active swimmers of the oceans. Nekton are the active swimmers of the oceans. So often they usually, if we talk about oceanic organisms, usually we mention about these nekton only. Why? Because they are the dominant organisms in these oceans. And most top predators, they belong to this nekton classification only, class only. So majority of the nekton are vertebrates. Lot of fishes, lot of reptiles and mammals are examples for these nekton only. And not only these vertebrates, some invertebrates like molluscs, crustaceans also belong to this nekton classification. So most numerous group of nektons are the fishes. So the biggest group in these nekton is fishes. Around 16,000 of different types of fish species are living in these oceanic waters. So nekton diversity is greatest in tropical waters. So in the sea waters, which is close to the tropics, these sea waters, they are having lot of diversity, species diversity, with particular to large number of fish species are living in this tropical sea waters. And the largest animal also, that is blue whale, Balanoptera musculus, also lives in sea waters only. The length of this Balanoptera musculus or blue whale will be around 25 to 30 meters in length, and this is also a major species in this nekton. Coming to another class, that is benthas. So these organisms, benthas, they are abundant on the surface of the sea water, sea bottom. So they live on the bottom of this oceans. So they live in the continental shelf, they live on the continental slope, and they live on the third layer also. So in all these different zones, on the bottom of these or on the surface of the seawater, some organisms, they live. They are called as benthas. So they and many sediments in the photic zone where the sunlight penetrates, that means till 200 meters of depth, photosynthetic organisms, microscopic benthic diatoms also, they live in this euphotic zone. And these benthic organisms can be classified according to their size. Some organisms are less than 1 millimeter in size. They are called as microbenthas. Some are bigger than that. They are called as macrobenthas. and some organisms will be around 0.1 millimeter to 1 millimeter. They are called as mesobenthas. So three types of classes are there: microbenthas, mesobenthas, and macrobenthas. Microbenthas will be around 1 millimeter below the, sorry, they will be around zero point 0.1 millimeter in size. Zero point 0.1 to 1 millimeter size organisms are called as mesobenthas. The organisms which are bigger than 1 millimeter are called as macrobenthas. So these are the three different types of classes of benthas based on their sizes. So the microbenthas organisms include diatoms, bacteria, and ciliates. So these diatoms are very large in number, and they are the primary source of food production or autotrophs in these euphotic zones. So, and the organisms, all the organisms, living components can be classified into, they can be classified into different levels. That means producers, primary consumers, and secondary consumers, tertiary consumers, and quaternary consumers. So depending on their place in this food pyramids, producers are called as first trophic level, primary consumers second trophic level, secondary consumers are third trophic level, tertiary ones are called as fourth trophic level, and quaternary consumers are called as fifth trophic level. So different consumer levels are there. So of them, let us see one by one. First one is producers. So producers are very, very important one. They are the first level of organisms in this trophic levels. So they produce a lot of they produce all the food content required for all other organisms and for themselves also. So they produce food by combining water, carbon dioxide with the help of sunlight, and the green pigments present in them are very important in this food synthesis or in this photosynthesis. Some producers, they not only, they do not depend on the sunlight for this synthesis. So they depend on the energy come from some chemical resource present in the sea waters. So such type of organisms are called as chemoautotrophs. So these producers are of two types. One is photoautotrophs. Second one is chemoautotrophs. So photoautotrophs are large in number. Chemoautotrophs are very less in number. Chemoautotrophs, they survive in such areas where sunlight is not available, and some deposits of some type of chemicals like sulfur deposits and phosphorus deposits. Such type of some special deposits are there. In such areas, some chemoautotrophs, they broke down those deposits, and by the energy released in this breakdown process, they will produce these food materials. So chemoautotrophs, they require energy, they receive energy required for the photos, for this chemosynthesis from this breakdown of chemical deposits present on the bottom of these oceans. So this is about producers, and next, in this oceanic plant producers examples, if you see the examples for these producer organisms, so largest biomass in this total ecosystem, even though they are very, they appear to be very small in sizes, but due to the enormous number of these producers, the largest biomass in the oceanic current belongs to these producers only. So they provide oxygen, they provide food for all organisms. Examples include phytoplankton, diatoms, and dinoflagellates, algal films, and seaweed like kelp forests. In some areas in the sea waters, kelps will be appear like some forests. So see the seaweed, especially kelps, kelp forests, all these are examples for producers in this oceanic ecosystem. And coming to the primary consumers, these primary consumers can be classified into three classes: filter feeders, grazers, and browsers. Filter feeders, grazers, and browsers. First one is filter feeders. These filter feeders, they filter the water currents. Why? Because they depend on small sized organisms, especially diatoms and some microalgae. So all these microalgae, these diatoms, they are very, very small in size. So to catch them, they filter the water currents and they expel the water, and they only receive these trapped diatoms and some microalgae. So by filtering the waters, they receive the food materials, and their food includes the small sized diatoms and small sized microalgae. So such type of organisms are called as filter feeders. Examples for this filter feeders are barnacles. They belong to this arthropoda class. And here in this slide also you can see on the bottom, I am unable to expand these photos in YouTube live దీంట్లో రావట్లేదు. సో ఇక్కడ బాటమ్ లోపల you are seeing these four different types of rock like structures. So they are barnacles, and some zooplankton also there. You can see the zooplankton on the right side top of the slide. So zooplankton and some other fishes also, large side shark fishes and blue whales, some these large size fishes also, and some mammal like these blue whales also, they are also examples for filter waders. So you might have studied about this blue whale having a baleen teeth. So this baleen teeth helps in filtering this water current. Blue whales, even though they are the big sized organisms, they feed on diatoms only. So to capture all those diatoms, they have some special teeth that they form baleen teeth in them. So by the help of this baleen, they will capture these food materials by filtering the oceanic water. So these are the examples for filter feeders. And some sea anemones and sponges also, they are also best examples for filter feeders. Second example is grazers. So these grazers usually they are present on the bottom of these sea waters. So especially they present on rocks and surfaces, and many different types of mollusks belong to these grazers. They will bite the food materials or bite the plant materials, and they will eat them. Such type of organisms are called as grazers. Examples include sea slugs, snails, and limpets. So these are the different types of molluscans. They are examples for grazers. Coming to browsers, these browsers they eat algae, and they also very important organisms in this marine environment. A lot of different types of fishes are examples for browsers, and these browsers they are very important elements in the coral reefs. So coral reefs, again, it is a very specific ecosystem in sea waters. Not in all areas in the sea waters we can see these coral reefs. In some specific areas only coral reefs are present. Coral reefs, again, they are a specific ecosystems present within this marine ecosystems. That is a different topic. We are not going to discuss more deeply about this coral reefs in this section, in this class. So coming to next, so these are the three different types of primary consumers. One is filter feeders, second one is graders, third one is browsers. Next, coming to secondary consumers. So the secondary, tertiary, quaternary, so all these different all these consumers, that means they are all animals. They include cnidarians, comb jellyfishes, and echinoderms, arthropods, molluscans, and vertebrates. These are the different types of consumers or animal groups present in waters. So coming to these cnidarians are great in number. They are the largest in number, we can say, in these oceans than this fresh water. So examples include corals. They are very plentifully available in coral reefs, and sea jellies, sea anemones are examples for this cnidarians, and some big sized sea jellies also belong to this cnidarians group only. So they will have tentacles. We know that they, with the help of these tentacles, they will have nidoblast cells on the tentacles. With the help of these nidoblasts and with the help of these tentacles, they will capture the prey, and they will eat those prey. So they belong to predators. So why? Because they directly kill these organisms, other organisms. They may be fish or they may be other animals. So they will kill other animals and they will eat them. So such type of organisms are called predators. So all these cnidarians are predators. And coming to another class, comb jellies. So these comb jellies, they belong to a phylum, minor phylum called Ctenophora. So these ctenophorans, they are hydroid in form. So these comb jellies also, they appear like cnidarians only in many aspects, but some variations, some differences will be there. So due to the differences, they are kept in some separate group called as Ctenophora. So they appear like hydroid in the early stages, but when they grow, they become free floaters, and they become medusa. They attain medusoid forms. So with the help of cilia, they will move from one place to another place. They also will possess tentacles, and these tentacles will be used by them in food capturing. So, and all these comb jellyfishes, they will be transparent. So their body parts, all those body parts which are present inside them, they can be seen. So their body surfaces are very transparent. So due to this transparency, in many places, in many cases, we cannot see them, so they are invisible. And coming to other group, in that is echinoderms. So the all these echinoderms, they will possess a bilateral symmetry, and pentamerous symmetry will be there in most echinoderms. So they will possess some skinny, spiny skinned surfaces will be there. Due to the spiny skinned surfaces only, they have got this echinoderm name. Water vascular current will be there in them. Tube feet will be there in many of these echinoderms. These tube feet help in the locomotion. Examples include sea stars, sea cucumbers, sea urchins. All these are present only in marine water. So echinoderms, all echinoderms, they live in sea waters only. In fresh waters, we cannot see them. And coming to another group, arthropods and molluscans. So arthropods are giant legs. Many arthropods, they live not only on the terrestrial habitats, they also live in sea waters also. So we know that all the characters of these organisms, they will possess a hard exoskeleton, giant legs will be there. Their body usually divided into three segments. So most of these are arthropods, they are predators or browsers, and some arthropods live as scavengers also. So examples for these arthropods include crabs, shrimps, and some sea spiders are examples for these arthropods. Barnacles also belong to this arthropod class only. And next class is molluscans. So these molluscans uh, are another important group. So these molluscans, they are primarily grazers. They by feeding habit, they are called as grazers. They will possess bilateral symmetry in their body. Usually body cavity will not be seen in them. And some large sized organisms seen in the sea waters belong to these molluscans also. Octopuses, squids, all these organisms, they are usually seen in sea waters only, but not in freshwater habitats. And coming to next group, last group in the secondary consumers is vertebrates. So these vertebrates, they usually possess vertebral column. Dorsal nerve cord will be there in them. Backbone will be there, and all these vertebrates are predators mostly. They kill other animals and they will eat on their flesh. Only some animals only they feed on autotrophs. So herbivores are very less in number. Most of the vertebrates are carnivores only, are predators. So examples are whale, dolphins, seals, sea turtles, and some types of snakes, and some birds also, like albatross birds also will be there. But they are in terms of species diversity, they are very less in number in the sea waters. And next one, third next classification is decomposers. So these decomposers, they are very important. Why? Because after these all these organisms, they are dead, their contents they present in their bodies, they have to be recycled into the sea waters again. This work will be done by these decomposers. So decomposers are very important in recycling in any ecosystem. Likewise, decomposers in marine waters are also very important. They play very important role. So they put nutrients back into the seawater so that the coming generation animals, some coming generation organisms can get the nutrients required for them. So examples for these decomposers include different types of bacteria, some arthropods, some other fishes also, like eel fishes, and some these cyclostomes. They also help as decomposers. They feed on these dead organisms, dead animals' fleshes, so that we can consider them as decomposers also. So not only this bacteria, some arthropods and some other fishes also, they act as decomposers in these marine atmospheres, marine ecosystems. So this is about marine ecosystem. Anyone have any doubts? You can post them in comment section. ఏమన్నా డౌట్స్ ఉంటే కామెంట్ సెక్షన్లో పెట్టండి. I see no one put any comment. ఫోన్లో ఇదంతా సరిగ్గా రావట్లేదు. సో ఐ థింక్ నెక్స్ట్ క్లాస్ టైం అయినట్టుంది. బీజెడ్సీ వాళ్ళకి ఇది బాట్నీ ఉండొచ్చు కదా. సో అగైన్ వీ విల్ మీట్ దిస్ ఆఫ్టర్నూన్. మళ్ళీ ఇంకో క్లాస్ తీసుకుంటా. సో ఇఫ్ యూ హ్యావ్ ఎనీ డౌట్స్ యూ పోస్ట్ దెమ్ ఇన్ ది వాట్సాప్ గ్రూప్ సో దట్ I will answer them in the next class. So let us end the class here.